right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Portfolio Talks, where we're bringing the conversations around money right to you on your screen at your fingertips so you can no longer be worried and stressed about conversations around money. Instead, you can get educated with us, with some professionals that can talk to you about money. So, if you're joining us for Portfolio Talks, you are someone that wants to learn about these concepts you hear about a lot, you see on social media a lot, but you don't know how that actually works and how it could benefit you. We should always preface this by saying this isn't specific financial advice because we don't know you, we don't know your situation. All we can do is educate you on the tools around you, and then it's up to you to take that information, book a meeting with your current team professionals. Hopefully, it'll be us, and then we can help you along the way. We'll give you all the answers, but you really need to implement the answers correctly in order to make a big financial leap towards the right direction. So that being said, I'm here joined as always with Mike Lloyd from the Home Happy team and Tyson Nagasaka from the Portfolio Planning Group. I'm Vishal, and today we want to talk about planning for retirement as a high income earner. So yeah, you're earning a high income, but how do you even use that to plan for retirement? Is retirement even possible, and at what age? We want to talk about your registered accounts, your RSPs, TFSAs, pension plans, what's best, how do you use it, how can it benefit you? And then we're going to finish off talking about retirement again. For early retirement, how much should you save? And you probably hear stuff about the FIRE method, FIRE retirement, things of that type. So let's jump into it. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Fantastic. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're doing awesome. This is Mike, this is our busy season. Vishal have just been like going from event to event to event. And it's like every other day, every other night, there's something going on. And I think next year I got to buy a tuxedo. I need a dinner jacket because we've gone to so many events. And I need to up my game.
Well, at least you have a cravat already. I mean, you've got that part.
Yeah, right?
I think the real trick is to get a reversible tuxedo, so you don't have to wash it as much. You can wear one, flip it inside out, and then you're good to go, right? So you'll see me at events, guys, taking my tuxedo off, flipping it the other way around, putting it back on, and walking back in. So
I really
it's
hope
all
to never see that, quite honestly.
You've already seen it on the golf course, me swapping outfits halfway through the course because I dressed inaccurately. Like I'm wearing a sweater and it's way too hot. I'm wearing a t-shirt and I need a sweater, and I can never figure it out. But that's just life in BC, right?
Yep,
Crazy.
absolutely. You know
All
what
right, guys. Yeah.
what's fun
Go
about
ahead.
this topic, I think, is somebody who's not 20 anymore. And if you're 20 watching this or in your 20s, retirement just seems like 1,000 miles away, and it's something most people just I'll get to that when I need to. But it's so important to think about it early on. It doesn't matter how much you make or who you are. If you think about it early on, you can win. And I think it's just taking these steps to think about planning and start to look at the overall picture, just so massively important. If you ignore it till you're 55, like honestly the majority of people do, you're fighting it so hard then, and it's like you're making it hard for yourself. So just please think about planning now when you're younger, because if you start to plan now, you're going to be 1,000 miles ahead than anybody else.
Yep. Yeah. Isn't it? It's so weird that most people think retirement's an age. Like, when I get to this age, I'm gonna stop working. But retirement's actually a number.
Yeah,
And so if you hit your number and you're 51 years old, why wouldn't you stop working? Or
yeah,
change and do like what I call like passion work. Like do
yeah,
something that you're passionate about. Work in your community, work with a specific area that you want to be in. And you're no longer doing it for the paycheck. You're doing it because you love what you want to do. And there's so many people out there that are artists and they're super creative and they have a gift, but you can't do that to financially support yourself and your family. And so they push that to the side. But if they had a focus or they had a team that worked with them, it's like, hey, by like, 49 years old, you're in a position to survive and pay all your bills and do stuff. Now you can engage in your passion. You might be able to do that for 20 years and then hit, retirement age.
yep,
Absolutely. I think that's really well said. Is retirement is not an age. Retirement is instead a number, and retirement is such a scary thing for a lot of people. But your retirement can be a very joyous time, or it can be a stressful time, and it's all predicated on the decisions you make today. That'll decide what your future is going to look like tomorrow. And for a lot of people out there that are like first generation Canadians, the government is not going to retire you. So CPP, old age security, is not going to be enough to live a retirement life. It's enough for probably some groceries, and that's about it. $700, $900 a month, something around there. Obviously, it's indexed for inflation, but food costs are going up, everything's going up. So do not think that CPP and old age security is going to retire you and be enough to hold you over. It's really just a supplement to keep you out of poverty. And that's not how you want to spend your retirement years. And also keep in mind that when you do retire, you drop off a lot of those group benefits. So now your medications, your treatment, things that are not going to be covered under MSP or whatever provincial plan is going to be, that is all paid out of pocket, and those are going to be extra expenses. So retirement does get costly because Canadians are living longer, but we're living with more health conditions. So we want to make sure that you are preparing and over preparing for retirement. So that being said, what does it look like for high income earners? What have you guys noticed for retirement planning for high income earners? Is it different than any kind of regular people? About the same? What do you guys see?
Well, I think that high income earners have something that like a lot of middle class Canadians maybe don't have, and that's choices. You're put in a favorable position to select and make better choices. But like on my notes that I made 2 seconds before we did the show here, my first thing on the list was health and dental. Most people don't realize, like, so if you're a high income earner and you work for a massive company, like say you work for Microsoft or Google, or like, one of our huge corporations, and you've been earning a huge salary for 20 years, 25 years. When you step away, all of a sudden your unlimited benefits plan with your unlimited massage and no cap medication and dental and all of those things, that could potentially stop. And so one of the things that Vishal and I have seen in some of our recent reviews with clients is some people have the option to take a retirement version of their health and dental and carry that with you. And it's funny because most people look at that and they go, that's $400 a month, or that's $500 a month for me and my wife. But you can totally recoup that with one bad year with $8,000 of dental work, or you know, an unpredicted like cancer medication or something, and then your uncapped medication or your health plan like really kicks in, and you're like, man, that stuff is wild. Um, so health and dental is one of the ones that I put on my list here.
And to add to that, even before you retire, you might be in a company that has those kind of benefits and may want to make a move that, you're going to move to something that doesn't. That should not be the limiting factor. I mean, it's a cost. It's definitely something you're gonna have to deal with. But I think some people, when they get on those benefit plans, think they'd never go anywhere else because they have those benefits. But you guys can build those for people and replace them. And like, you might make a ton more money or have a lot more life joy because you made a move. Why would you limit it because of benefits? Like, that to me is, whether you retire or not, I mean, wherever you are in life, that's something you should talk about. But anyways.
Yeah, no,
No,
you're
I agree.
absolutely right.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those things that a lot of people, they get trapped as kind of the golden handcuffs when it comes to keeping you at the job, and sometimes that's a point of these benefit plans, especially these executive level ones, is they want to keep you tied down to the job. So we have a worksheet. If you're watching this, you want access to it, you can just email us at info@portfolioplanning.ca and just ask us for the employee versus self-employed worksheet. And it just really takes you through calculating what your net benefit is at the end of the day. So if you are someone who has a job and you're getting an offer and you're going to become self-employed or a contractor, there's going to be things that you lose and there's going to be things that you gain. So we have a full worksheet that can kind of work you through it. We do that for our financial planning clients whenever they got to navigate these decisions. But a lot of times, to Mike's point, yeah, you're going to lose these benefits, but sometimes you may incorporate instead. And if you're becoming a contractor, you're going to incorporate, and now you get to control your income. So instead of earning $350,000 on the personal side, you can actually earn it corporately. And we had this with a sales consultant that's our client. I think she makes like 400-ish, if I remember correctly, Tyson. But she makes about 400,000, and she was an employee, but now she's going to be a contractor, incorporate herself because she only needs about 100,000 to live off of because her husband has some income and things like that type. So the rest of it can be tax deferred inside of her corporation, so she can effectively have like an unlimited RSP, because all the income she's earning is going to be taxed at that small business rate inside the corporation. And then whenever she needs it, she can pull it out. And that way you can grow your net worth a lot faster as opposed to just having a really high income. Yeah, you get benefits, but you're bleeding so much on taxes if you don't need all that money on the personal side, and you only have so much RSP room that you can use to remove income tax. After that, you're pretty much stuck with the rest of it. So in that case, is exactly what Mike was talking about. If you're someone that's like that, it's going to serve you far better to get a contract work. You can incorporate, set up a health spending account, pay for your benefits out of your corporation, and then you're kind of good to go. But again, I guess it depends on situation by situation. But just do the work and just understand that there's a reason that the benefits are there. It's for you to use, but it's also to keep you stuck in there. So just look at your options.
And I think to your point about retirement for high income, I mean, to me, the difference is if you're making good income, you generally will look for people to help you plan and figure out and what we're really continually talking about is planning. It's really about educating yourself to what's available, maximizing where you need to, minimizing where you want to, and building that plan outwards, whether it's for retirement or benefits or any of this. I mean, it's really, it comes down to once you're educated and it becomes a mathematical decision, it's pretty simple, right? And that's what we're talking about here is like, what's the best retirement? Well, first of all, that depends on you, what you want to do, and obviously that's the key part. But after that, it just kind of becomes math. And um, how much risk you like and how much you don't like, and those come into that mathematical equation, but it's still just a math question at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's totally correct. It's funny because we have these conversations with people who are preparing for retirement, and then we ask them like, are they going to adjust spending? And that's kind of a sore spot because if you have 20 grand a month coming in or 40 grand a month, and now you're not going to have that guaranteed, um, what are you going to trim?
Yeah.
And most people don't like to think about that. And a little bit of it is keeping up with the Joneses. Is like they have a social circle that they have to, kind of maintain their status. But we we all want people to be successful. Even our social circle that has like a watermark. We have to maintain the watermark. But nobody wants to see you lose it all because you're spending egregiously. And so those are some tough conversations that we have to have, that we have to address some like non-financial things, and those are like feelings and social pressures, and what do they really want to do. Some of the times is Vishal and I have a hard time having clients hit their goals because they don't clearly define the goal and really think about it past a surface level. And so then we start unpacking some emotions and some, family baggage and some other things. And it's a better idea to do that before you retire than when you're retired.
So true.
100%. Mike, one question I have that's going to be kind of specifically probably you see it is when you look at high income earners, generally what happens is in their main income earning years, they acquire real estate a lot. They buy real estate, buy real estate, buy real estate. Come retirement, their plan perhaps is to retire. And to Tyson's point, where you're going to come with that extra money, it's going to be rental income, or they have to kind of liquidate some real estate portfolios and then live off the cash or whatever it may be. In your experience from the mortgage broker lens, what do you see when it comes to high income earners that are coming to retirement? Are they holding a lot of real estate? Are they not? Like, what do you really notice from that?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, there's two camps basically. The one camp is they try to pay off their house and maybe they help their kid or something, but that's sort of like their basic on real estate. But there's another camp where they start to build a portfolio through time, and I've had clients who've amassed like 5, 6 homes, and for tax reasons, as you guys know, we want to keep those kind of maxed out when they're at high income. But when they start to retire, that's the time where maybe you sell one and pay off the mortgages, or sell two and end up with four, and then you're just collecting checks on four of them, where your income's down, but you're not paying as much tax on it. So it makes a lot of sense to do it that way. So yeah, we do see that quite often, and it can make a lot of sense. Some people trust real estate more than they trust stocks or other investments, and for those people, I think it makes sense. There's some people who don't want to interact with tenants and don't want anything to do with that kind of stuff. So once again, it comes down to personal preference and what you like. But I think unless you're absolutely against it, I do think it's something people should look at, or at least think about, and even try out. I mean, it's certainly in BC, we have some pretty tight rules on being a landlord, and that makes it more difficult. But as a long-term play, it certainly makes a lot of sense because it's just, I mean, there's not much other than blue chip stocks maybe or something that over time they're going to continually go up some degree. Not necessarily always, but there's also investments in real estate where it's just a cash flow play. So maybe you buy a place in Edmonton, and because it's always, like it's almost 0% vacancy there, your place isn't going to go up in value very much, but you're going to net a couple grand every month from it. So that can be a good source too for rental income down the road, or retirement income. But yeah, it's definitely something on that we deal with quite often. But like I said, there's kind of two camps, and I mean, you guys know there's lots of different things that high income people can look at investing in, and it's really comes down to what they feel comfortable with and what they kind of want in the big picture. Some people couldn't fathom having 5 properties or 7 properties. Some want 10 or 20, and so there's literally people out there with 50 and 70 rental units as a portfolio. Like they're full time managing that basically most of the time.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you could also hire, if you're cash flowing much, you could also hire a property manager. But
you're still thinking about it a lot.
Yeah, always. Yeah, it's always gonna be your stress, right? So let's switch gears here. So Mike, you talked a bit about some people that trust real estate more than they trust investments. So other thing about high income earners is when they prepare for retirement, they utilize their RSPs, their TFSAs, perhaps a pension plan. There's so many differences between all 3 of them, but for high income earners, Tyson, I'll pass it to you. What do you notice when it comes to TFSAs and pension plans? What's kind of best? What's more common?
The high income earners that I've dealt with a lot is they do utilize their tax-free savings account more than other income brackets. Part of that is they like to self-direct their stock portfolio in their TFSA, which is a great idea. Because if you can grow your stock portfolio and you're managing it well, there's no downside because it's tax-free. And so you'll never pay tax on it, which is wonderful. The disturbing statistic that has come out this year is that there is an alarming amount of cash in tax-free savings accounts, and you're totally missing the tax-free benefit if you're not invested somehow in your tax-free savings account, right? And Vishal and I, we do a seminar series and we talk about the rule of 72. Shows how many years it takes your money to double based on the rate of return that you're getting. And if you're getting 0 to 1% rate of return, it's 72 years for that money to double, which is like ridiculous. It's never going to grow. With high income earners, you also have some of them that work for a large company and they get a pension plan. Now we have to have a discussion before you retire of what are we looking to do here? If we have longevity in the family genes, then maybe what we're doing is taking the pension plan and just, you're going to run it out till age 100 and you're going to get the most out of the pension plan. We'll run a calculation. If there's maybe you don't have the longest longevity in your family history, you might want to commute your pension plan and take that over, and you can dump a chunk of it into your RRSPs and you can self-manage it. The benefit of doing that is you get to keep all of that money inside the family a lot longer. And that's something that we want to talk about with our clients is that, your spouse will get 60 to 100% rollover depending how it's set up. But then usually when you take your pension, your children are not a contingent beneficiary. And so over the long term is that, wealth within the family could drop off within 10 years or 15 years. And if you commute the pension plan and take it in, manage it privately, you can actually set yourself up for generational wealth and have like a decent chunk there that we can grow and manage over the years. And then you have flexibility with it. Our RSPs, there is, like Mike said, there's a camp where people believe in RSPs and they do it. And then there's a camp where, maybe their real estate or their accountant says, I don't believe in RSPs, as though it's a religion. And so we have those conversations. It's like, hey, should you do it? There's tax benefits this year when you put money in your RSPs, and there's a way to get money out of your RSPs in moderate the taxes that you pay during retirement. But it's all there to create a source of income for you. And, you know, I think the point is you have a lot of options.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I think there's a lot of creativity as well, because it's not a cookie cutter one approach or one strategy fits everyone. The thing that Tyson said at the very beginning that is still true is if you're a high income earner, you have options, which is fantastic, but sometimes it can cause you to have paralysis by analysis because you have too many options. You're like, I don't even know what to do. And then to Mike's earlier point, that's again the benefit of why the high income earners end up being more successful in their definition of retirement, not so much because of income, but because income allows them to hire support of a financial team, and then they can navigate them, along the way. Um, but what I do notice from RSPs is you're right. A lot of people are either totally with it or totally against it. But what I do notice is in the early years of a professional, let's say you're a physician and you start working, and your first 5 years of your working career, what I do notice is that they are more inclined to use an RSP because they want to wipe out that income tax, and like, you know what, I'm getting tax sticker shock for the first time. But a lot of times they don't realize how they can use it, for example, to buy real estate. So Mike, I'll pass it to you. If there's a high income earner, let's say as a physician, working first 5 years of their career, they have a huge income, it's all personally taxed, and they want to start taking advantage of the RSP, how can they also then use that to pull money of the RSP, not pay tax, and to buy a tax-free asset?
Well, I mean, obviously, they're going to have a lot of room for RSPs. They're going to fill it up, and the government has changed for a first-time buyer that you can take out 60,000 per person, and that's early on. That's a big factor for your down payment. Also, the money that you're putting in that you would have paid to tax, you should think about taking those funds and like try to count it like money that was spent anyways. So whatever you save off your RSPs, you can by using RSPs, you could use those funds for your down payment as well. But yeah, I mean, RSPs are a key factor. It just shouldn't be everything, I think. Is that kind of what you're looking at, or
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
income wise, lenders will treat professionals generally a little nicer than others, even if they don't have consistent income. They will show up on, like, they'll allocate more income towards, so for debt service ratios and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we can qualify people easier that are professionals, let's just put it that way. But especially early on in their career when they don't have a ton to show, because we just know they're going to make more as they move along. And the other thing to think about as a professional in that scenario, whenever you buy real estate, you should be thinking long term, like, is this a property that I can hold on to? So maybe your first place is a condo. Buy the condo with the thought that you're going to keep it and rent it forever. You're not going to sell it. And not, I mean, you can always change your mind, but it's nice to have that as a plan going forward, so that maybe every time you make a move, you just keep the old place and keep moving along and convert those into rentals. And that can be a good little strategy to start out with. But once again, it's so individual, and it's so about every person, what they're comfortable with. But there's definitely, I think with high income earners, like you mentioned, it usually opens your eyes that there's experts out there to help you. And I think that's the mistake a lot of lower middle class kind of income people don't think about. And it's too bad, because if they went out and got the same expertise, they could move themselves into those kind of positions. So it isn't necessarily just for people who make a ton of money. It's people who plan smartly and maximize what they've got. And that, I think, we're just, because you're paying so much in tax, it opens your eyes when you're high income, as opposed to somebody who's not making as much. But yeah, it's definitely important to do regardless, I think. So
100%. What I do notice, no, it's great. And what I do notice is, to your point, is the middle or lower income earners, they do have the same opportunities to get support, but they often don't know what's out there or who's out there. And they just end up working with the banks, and the banks are just basically putting them into credit card, putting the line of credits, overdraft, and mutual funds, and that's basically it, or GICs. And back in the day, like, it was very difficult to find any financial planners, any mortgage brokers, anyone that would be able to be willing to help someone that wasn't high net worth, because the numbers just didn't make much sense. But nowadays, with technology, with AI, with efficiency of the business, your expenses for helping clients is significantly less than it used to be. Whereas if I wanted to open up shop, I'd have to have
a office space, had to have staff to do all this stuff, and then for it to make sense, we got to take this much net worth so we can earn this much income at a minimum. That stuff is all gone now. So if you need support and if you need help, it doesn't matter what your income levels are. There's never been a better time to get access to everyone than right now. Technology can work for you or against you, but in this example, it can definitely work for you. For example, you're watching this and learning on all these strategies.
Exactly.
Which is awesome. And when it comes to your RSP, there's a couple ways you get access to money. So Mike talked about one, which is you can use it to buy a home. You're a first-time home buyer, and you can access the money from your RSP in addition to your FHSA, and use that to buy a home. You can also use it for continuing education. So if you have money in your RSP and then you want to go back and specialize or go back to school, you can also access money from your RSP for like a lifetime learning program. So you can go back to school, tap into your RSP to pay yourself to go to school, and then you can pay it back as opposed to just taking a line of credit. You can essentially use your RSP like a student loan and use it and then pay it back. And then another one is if you have disabled dependents, and if you're a parent that has money in your RSP, you could also use that to help set them up as well. And I know that's a big concern for people that, yes, I have a good income, I'm ready for retirement, I have all this money, but I'm really worried about my dependent. There's a lot of plans out there like the RDSPs. You can also use your RSP to buy them assets so they can have stability and comfort where they live, and it can help you get that asset early. And to Mike's earlier point, use the same strategies you use to retire yourself. You can use that to help pay off that home. So by the time you're no longer here, that home that you bought for them is debt free. They have that, they have stability, and then they can potentially use reverse mortgages with the help of their trustee and things of that type. So there's a lot of different strategies out there. You just got to find out what makes the most sense for you and for them.
Yeah, great point. I mean, that's one big thing is reverse mortgages are so unknown and have sort of this bad word around it because of stuff in 20 years ago that happened in Britain and the US. It never happened here. But it's not a strategy for everybody, but it's definitely a strategy for some key people who need to access some equity and don't necessarily qualify. And I think for those people to help their kid or help themselves, it's amazing. So it's definitely a growing market. And like I said, it's very specific for a specific group of people. It's not for everybody. Obviously, if you have a massive investment portfolio and you've paid your house off, I'm not telling you should go take out a reverse mortgage. But but yeah, it's for the right people. It can make a huge difference in their life. And I just think if you can take stress away from people at any point in your life, why wouldn't you want to look at that? So.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's two gifts I want to leave you all with before we jump off here. Thing number one is when it comes to a lot of stuff that we talked about when it comes to your real estate property of how much can I cash flow, and if you don't even know, like, okay, what if I refinanced it and added more debt to this? Am I still going to cash flow? Like, what makes the most sense? Mike and his team have a fantastic calculator on their website, and you can visit it at homehappy.ca, and you can go into there, type all your numbers into the website, and you can see, what my mortgage payment is now, what it would be if I was going to add X amount of debt onto it. For example, if I'm going to max out my RSP with my HELOC, or if I'm going to buy another rental property, or if I'm just going to take out more debt, whatever your situation is, there's a calculator option that's there for you. You can type in all your numbers, and if you need support, you can just email the team, and Mike and the team can help you out. So that's gift number one. Gift number two is a gift of education. So the calendar year, we're recording this on November 20th, 2024. Before the end of this year, you need to open up your FHSA if you're going to be a potential first-time home buyer, even if you're not 100% sure if that's going to be you or if you're going to be gifted a home or whatever your situation is, it doesn't matter. Open up your FHSA and deposit something into it, whether it be a couple $100, $1,000, $8,000, regardless. Make sure you do that because you will open up the FHSA contribution for 2024, and then when the calendar turns, you can say Happy New Year, and then also Happy New Year to yourself because you're going to get another $8,000 of FHSA room for 2025. If you do not open your account before the end of the year, you're only going to get 2025, and you're going to be losing out on the potential room that you would have had. And if you're someone that's going to be potentially working for the first time and have a high income, if you have a potential increase of your income in the next year, you're expecting a promotion, or your small business is trajectory to take off, you're expecting a gift of money, an inheritance, anything like that. You don't know what life has in store for you, but make sure that you at least open up all the opportunities. So open up your FHSA room, I'll put a link in our bio to navigate you to our platform, and we can help you open up accounts and stuff like that as well. But this is going to be specifically if you're in Canada. This is Canadian content, Canadian education. So if you're in Canada, open up your FHSA room before the end of 2024. And if you're in Canada and you want to know what your rates would be and whatever may be, if you were to make different decisions with your debt on your mortgage, visit homehappy.ca, and they have a calculator that can answer all your questions, even your life questions. No, I'm just joking. Just your mortgage questions. Mike, before we jump off, any last thoughts?
Yeah, just to understand that FHSA. So for 24, you get, as long as you open it and put $100 in it, you get 8,000 room, and then next year you add another 8,000 to it. So literally, you could have 16,000 available tax free to purchase your home whenever you end up doing that. You can fund that though later if you need to. So I think that's the point you're trying to make is like,
Absolutely.
even if you don't have $8,000 to put in there right now, put $100 in, hold it. And that's a huge win when you come down the road for tax free. So
Yep.
yeah.
If you're opening an FHSA, you're buying yourself the opportunity to deduct $8,000 of taxable income to allow that $8,000 to grow tax free. And the good thing about the FHSA is even if you don't have the money now, and then something happens in 2025 where you get the money that you can put into your FHSA, you don't need the 90-day rule like you do with RSP. So if you have some gift money or surprise money that comes in, you want to use it for your down payment, you at least have that room that's there. So there is 100 different reasons why it makes sense. Maybe not that many, but a lot of reasons why it makes sense. So just make sure that you open up your FHSA room, regardless whether you use it or not. You just need to give yourself the opportunity because you don't know what life has in store for you in the next year.
Yeah, and in the end, I think what we talked about was just thinking ahead. Spend some time looking after yourself by thinking about the big picture and where you want to be. And that's really it in a nutshell.
Absolutely. If you want to end up like Mike living in beautiful Kelowna, he's someone that would have opened up his FHSA back in the day for early contribution, right? So the opportunities are there. If you guys have any questions, of course, reach out to us. Thank you again. If you got value from this episode or any of our other episodes, make sure you like and subscribe, share with friends, share on social media, open up your FHSA, and make sure that you comment any questions that you have. And this is Canadian content, because if you were like us, many years ago, we've always looked for Canadian content. Very hard to find it, and very hard to find people that are accredited and have the expertise to give the advice. It's usually people that read a book and repurpose it. We work in this field. We do this stuff on the daily. So any questions you have, drop in the comment section, and we look forward to next week. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.